Good evening, everyone, and welcome to From the Inside Speaker Panel. This is our fourth event, and on behalf of the Reach Foundation, welcome to the inside. We're the educational insiders. Well, not that anyone is on the outside, especially some of my friends here who are inside the outdoors, but tonight, we're all on the inside. Together, we are creating a community that celebrates, connects, and amplifies the strength of PYLUSD, where we need, notice, and nurture our students, our staff, and each other. And whether you are with your family, friends, or by yourself right now, I want to thank you. Thank you for being here this evening to join us. So in the chat box, if you would, please type in the city that you're calling from. I'd love to see the city where you're calling from. Of course, you're Belinda. Orange, Anaheim, Laguna Hills, wow, Arizona. Wonderful. All right, Fullerton. Fantastic. So we're not just in Orange County, we're an extended part of Orange County because of our friends and family. So if you have joined us before, welcome back. But if this is the first time, let me tell you about the format that we're going to follow tonight. Ashley, if you could drop the program in the chat box, that way you'll have a chance to look at our agenda. We have 4 incredibly talented and amazing PYLUSD alumni this evening who will share their unique personal stories, challenges, and experiences. Unfortunately, one of our speakers had a family emergency and she's unable to join us. But over the past 6 weeks or so, we have worked together to prepare for tonight. And what I know is that our speakers' goals are to give back to their community, offer support to the next generation of students, and paying it forward, expressing gratitude to their teachers, their parents, and administrators who have helped them on their journey along the way. So each of the speakers have prepared a 5-minute presentation or an overview, and afterwards we're going to follow a 5-minute Q&A. So this is an interactive conversation between us and the audience. And we invite you to write your questions down or don't hesitate to put it in the chat box. And today we're delighted to have Mrs. Ann San Roman, our Reach Foundation board member, advisor, and principal of Fairmont Elementary, here as our QA moderator. Ann will receive your questions in the chat box and ask questions to the speakers. And when the 5 minutes are up, any unanswered questions will be addressed at the end or after the meeting. And to ensure we have created this safe space for a successful meeting, I'd like to encourage you to keep your video on if possible, but if you have to multitask, we understand too. We invite you to engage by using the chat box or giving feedback. And here's an example of what we'd like to do. Jazz hands. This is a universal sign language, by the way. There you go. I see some of you doing it. That's great. And basically what this means is I applaud you. I see you. So anytime a speaker says something that connects and resonates with you, you could give them some feedback by showing some jazz hands, or you could type it in the chat. And also, if we have technical issues, it happens on these Zoom meetings at times, please be patient with us. We have 2 tech masters to monitor the audio, the video, and the meeting overall. And during the speaker's presentation, we will ask everyone to mute. So thank you for your cooperation. And now, to help us get started, we have recruited 2 talented student moderators who will be introducing our speakers tonight. Evelyn Yao is our enthusiastic Reach student representative, a Life Ops Learning Lab communicating with confident superstar, and Kramer Middle School student. Evelyn has been selected for the PYLUSD Access and Inclusion Committee. She's also an officer at the Cyber Patriot and Cybersecurity Club at Kramer and Valencia High School. Our second student moderator is Michaela Gill, a Reach STEM Club student representative, Life Ops Learning Lab leader, and Travis Ranch Middle School student. We are excited to have both student moderators with us today, and Evelyn will be leading the first introduction.
Our first speaker graduated as an AP student from Valencia High School in 2017. After high school, she attended CSU Long Beach and graduated with a BA in fashion design, a minor in business marketing, and certification in streetwear design at Parsons. Her work was showcased at the 2019 International Textiles and Apparel Association's Design Exhibition in Las Vegas, Nevada. She currently works freelance in Hollywood as a fashion designer and stylist in the fashion and music industry. Some of her notable achievements are custom tailoring for R&B singer Joji and styling on the music videos for Disney's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Seven Rings soundtracks. Please help me welcome Erin Zhang.
Hi, thank you so much for the introduction. Before I get started and share a little bit more about my journey, I wanted to showcase my portfolio, if that's all right with everyone, just to kind of help conceptualize everything that I've been working on. My portfolio is split into 3 sections. It's my design, styling, and some other work that I have, but I mainly wanted to focus on just the design portion and the styling portion with you guys today. Like previously mentioned in my bio, this is the Mondrian Dress that was presented at the ITAA exhibition in 2019. This dress is something that had a 27% undergraduate acceptance rate, and I ended up scoring the highest my school has ever received before. There's many pieces of construction to this dress set. I ended up hand dyeing my own fabric just because I couldn't find the things that I wanted when I was making the dress, and I ended up writing an abstract for it with my professor to submit together. Some more recent design work that I've done is my own senior collection that I did previously this past spring, where I created concepts, mood boarding, color paletting, and design rendering on how I wanted to shoot. And I produced a lookbook, which is it's a set of photos where you look at different types of clothing, and I created creative concepting and basically curated my vision of how I wanted these clothing to be presented. And I did 10 looks split up into 5 and 5. So I did 2 sets of photos for this lookbook. Some other work that I also do is styling for entertainment. So I have publications out. This is some stuff that I did recently for Shang-Chi, and I also do a lot of other musicians. But test shoots is something that's more fun and flexible, where it's mainly just anything creative that goes, and it's just things that can, whatever creatives want to shoot, there's more flexibility here. But yeah, so after showing you guys this, I wanted to talk about myself and show you guys my process to where I started. I started in 2019 assisting someone for styling, and that was someone that I was able to build connections off of with. And fortunately, I'm able to get to where I am today because of that experience. It's really hard to work freelance because it really is what you make of it. And I really want to come to you guys today and share that it's okay to freelance in a creative industry, and it's just as viable of a career choice as a 9-to-5 corporate job. One of my main points I have on my slide is that although I believe higher education is super important, I don't believe that it's determinant of your future success and your own self-worth. This mainly being even though I was a AP student, I chose to go to not a UC or Ivy League or apply to those types of schools, not because I don't feel like I wanted to do that type of higher education, but rather pursue the arts, since that was something that I had more interest in and was more willing to spend time and investment in myself in this creative journey. I was willing to sacrifice potential money in the future, doing something that I genuinely enjoy doing, just because I would rather be happy for the rest of my life than work a corporate job. So the advice I would like to give is that whether it be photography or sewing or painting or any sort of other creative skill set, I encourage all students to really fine tune that skill set, just because even though it's not a potential career path, it's still a skill set that may differentiate you from other people and can be useful in other aspects of your life as an adult later on. And who knows, because it could be something that you get really, really good at, and the skill set could also help refine your career later on in ways that you don't know, and it could still be really sustainable. My second point that I wanted to share is that a lot of your work connections don't necessarily have to be how well you do. It's not what you know, but more of who you know. Assisting work in the creative industry is really, really important. I think people often overlook and just think that you can skip and go straight into being self-sufficient, but no, it's a huge learning process. So I really encourage people to network with one another, to really be comfortable meeting other people, getting out there and reaching out to other people, because the more people you know and the more people you meet, the more people that can help you later on. And those are your resources, you know. And a lot of times I'm able to get jobs and be where I am now because of other people that I've reached out to, or people that have reached out to me in the past or recommended me for things. So that I just hope I can encourage you guys with those two things. Looking forward into the future, my ultimate goal is to have my own fluid contemporary menswear streetwear clothing brand. And I've had this growing interest for the past 10 years. So being able to contribute into that creative aspect is something that I'm really looking forward to. And even though I know it's another challenge in the industry that I will be facing, I have confidence in myself that I will be able to accomplish it. And I hope that this confidence I have in myself is something that I can use to encourage all of you guys as well, to be able to really be willing to put forth into a creative side of yourself and creative career in the future. But yeah, thank you so much. That's all I have for you guys.
Excellent. Well, Erin, thank you so much. What a creative and awesome portfolio you've developed, and I appreciate that you could share it with us tonight. I like really what you shared about the importance of networking and how that could be for anybody in any career. I think that has a really great importance. Please, everyone, don't forget, put your questions in the chat so that we can have Erin answer them. Anything that you might want to know a little bit further, or if something that she didn't even touch on, you can go ahead and talk. But
I actually have one from Judy in my direct message.
oh, excellent.
Yeah, the question is, how did your parents feel about your choice of higher education? I think this is a really huge, crucial thing for my own career choice, just because coming from like a very typical Asian family, my parents always wanted me to pursue higher education. And although they were supportive, and I know I'm very privileged and lucky that my parents are supportive of a creative field, I think even though they didn't understand why I chose this path, they saw that I did have a passion for it, and that it was something that I was willing to really sacrifice my time for. So because of that, my parents were willing to just take the risk and go along with it. And I think just for those who have parents that aren't as supportive, or that don't see this as a worthwhile risk, I would still say continue to push for yourself, because there's no one else fighting for you more than yourself. Freelance is what you make of it. The more that you fight for yourself and the more that you do what you want to do, the more you can be better at it, you know, because you're your own competition. There's always gonna be someone better than you out there. So you fight for yourself, and, you know, it could just be a hobby, but it's still something that you're really good at, you know. I have another one from Erica, who Bessie's last name, same twinsies. Great job. What inspired you to get into fashion design? I really like boys' clothes. I love menswear. I love streetwear. And that's something that I always really liked growing up. It was really embarrassing, but I used to really like K-pop in middle school. And that's kind of like where I got really into menswear. I really like streetwear and like designer wear in that aspect. So that kind of caught my attention, and that went into styling of aspect of my career field. But styling is not as sustainable since it's just dressing people. And I wanted to do more with the styling. So design is a a more developed option where I'm actually able to just create whatever I have like curated in my mind. I have another one from Michaela. When did you realize that fashion was what you wanted to do? Was there a certain moment? I think my freshman year, it was really, so the reason why I went to Cal State Long Beach and not like a design school is because I wanted to have a second option just in case. Design school is really, really expensive, and I wasn't willing to put my parents in a financial situation where I would go into a lot of school debt. So I picked a more casual school setting where I would able to switch out. Long Beach does not have a good fashion program by all means, but it's again what you make of it. Like I really worked my butt off, and that's why instead of working 9 to 5, I work 24/7 now. But it's really just me working in the classes in my freshman year and seeing that I really liked what I was doing, and it was something that really challenged myself, and it was a major that really allowed me to be competitive with myself. I knew it was something I wanted to do, and the more I got into it, the more I tried. Everything just kind of lined up, and it just worked out for me. And I know I'm very, very fortunate because I've never had a moment of regret in my career path and my educational development. So I know I'm like super lucky and extremely grateful, but I think, again, it's like one of those things where if you really want it and you really spend the time to invest into yourself and seeing if you like something or not, it'll either hit off, or if it doesn't, it's okay. You can totally just do something else and pursue different types of education. And it's totally fine too.
Great. That is great advice, to invest in yourself and in your passions. So thank you so much, Erin, for spending the time with us. I know how busy you are because you have an appointment at 7 p.m. tonight.
I do, unfortunately. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
But I can link my portfolio in the comments, and then also my Instagram, because I do have other portfolio work it's like my a second portfolio basically, since I do get a lot of work on Instagram, and then also my email. So open to if anyone wants to like DM me and ask questions more specifically, or like even email me, like I'm totally open to it. I respond pretty fast for the most part. So yeah, and feel free to like go crazy with looking at my portfolio. There's a lot of stuff there.
Our next speaker graduated from El Dorado High School in 2017. That fall, he attended UCI studying cognitive sciences, and then he switched majors, graduating with a BA in education sciences in 2020. At UCI, he was involved in Parkinson's disease research, started a clothing business, and volunteered his time as a tutor and a hospital volunteer. Currently, he is working in 2 positions while applying for medical school, one as a scribe in a neurosurgery outpatient clinic, and another as a research assistant on a COVID-19 therapeutic. He recently announced that he has been accepted to medical school and is still deciding which school he will attend. Congratulations. Please help me welcome Justin Yan.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, just to reiterate, I graduated from El Dorado High School in 2017. So go Hawks. And then I went to UCI where I graduated in 2020. So go Anteaters. I know it's a weird mascot, but that's what we chose. And then I'm fortunate enough to say that I have now been accepted to medical school and still deciding where I want to go. And I kind of mentioned these things right now because I think the tips I'm going to share with you guys tonight have worked for me, and I wish I knew them sooner. So I guess it's just to provide some credibility in that sense, that I didn't just pull this out of thin air or read it off the internet and just regurgitating it. So it's actually have worked for me. So if you guys can take one thing away from tonight, that'd be awesome. So basically, I'm just going to share some advice, tips, very practical, tangible, very real tips that you guys can use for age groups. So I'm going to split up middle school and high schoolers. And now, I guess just to get into it, I'm going to start with middle schoolers. So with middle schoolers, the 3 pieces of advice I'm going to go over is being curious. The second one is social skills. And the third one is who do you surround yourself with? So just to break that down and flesh that out a little more, just to be curious. So for me, being a curious individual, I think I've always been a curious individual growing up. It's really helped me get to the place where I'm at now. Just wondering about just things out there, questions allows you to have a platform and a mindset where opportunities present themselves and you can just jump onto it. So even with this right here, from the inside, I was just curious when I heard about the opportunity. And I was like, let's just do it. So that's something you guys can do. And then in college too, as of course I'm trying to become a physician, but I was always interested, just curious in business. Like, how does business work? Like, you go to Walmart or Target and you just see all these things, or how does it get to the shelves and things like that. So I just went out and started a clothing business. And unfortunately, because of my commitments to my pre-medical stuff, I had to step away, but it's been successful and it's actually selling in South Korea now. But I've unfortunately had to step away from that. But just being curious allows you to just have that mindset and being open to so many things. So I would encourage all of you to have that mindset. And the second one is social skills. So for me, especially in middle school, if you knew me in middle school, my social skills were horrible. I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't like talking to people. But I noticed, especially like my mom or my friends, they had really good social skills and they had a way of interacting with people where they can build relationships. And I thought that was really cool and something that was very, very, I guess, just admirable. So I think a quick tip for you guys is just, if you're struggling with this, just start very small. Don't put so much pressure on yourself and just maybe start talking to cashiers. That's what I started doing. So when you're checking out your items or you're ordering things on a menu, especially with a waiter or something like that, just kind of I guess, a little downtime, a little pause at times, and you can just ask them how their day is. And when you do this, I think you're going to start to see that people really do like to talk to other people. A lot of us seem to be very closed off, very, I guess, distant when we're out in public. I think that's just something that society has taught us to do in a certain way. But if you just start talking to people, you really realize that they open up and they really can just share so much about themselves and give so much insight into you. So please try and get yourself out there. It's very important to learn how to talk to adults, how to talk to people that you're not familiar with on a small basis, especially with small talk. So really try and emphasize that. And then the third thing I want to go over is who you surround yourself with. So you might have heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together, or show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I cannot stress this enough. This is very, very important. And I think people get it misconstrued and they misunderstand that saying by trying to hang out with people that are more academically successful, or maybe they're more successful with their money. And I think that's completely false. I think you just have to find people that motivate you or they're motivated themselves. My friend group that I grew up with, not all of us were very good in academics, not all of us were very good in sports, but one thing about us is that we're all motivated each in our own ways. And that kind of rubs off on each other and allows us to really, I guess, see the best, improve the best things about ourselves. So those are the three things from middle schoolers. Be curious, try to work on your social skills as best as you can, and watch who you surround yourself with. And then now for high schoolers, this is, of course, you can use the things that I mentioned to middle schoolers, but also I'm gonna get a little more, I guess, life lesson-y, I guess, but I'm gonna be going over study methods and how to be a planner. So with study methods, I could sit here and tell you to work hard, be disciplined, but I think those are things that your parents are probably nagging at you about, or your teachers are, and it's very, very cliche and very basic. So I guess three very, very concrete ways you guys can do this is through spaced repetition, mind mapping, and the 5-minute rule. So spaced repetition is something that can allow you guys to cut down your study times. There's a program called Anki. Some of you guys might have heard it, some of you guys might have not, but essentially it's a flashcard system like Quizlet, but it shows you the flashcards that you don't know, and it doesn't show you the flashcards that you do know. So a lot of times if you study, you might catch yourself only, I guess, studying the things that you do know, because it's more of like a self-defense mechanism. And that's honestly, it's normal and that's okay, but it doesn't really maximize your time. If you want to maximize your time, you need to not forget about the stuff that you do know, but you need to put aside the stuff that you do know, and you need to focus on the stuff that you do not know. So I would highly recommend looking into spaced repetition. The second one is mind mapping. So if I asked you to think about objects that are red, you guys might be thinking of fire hydrants, stop signs, maybe Clifford, or things like that. Things that are just red. And this is how your mind works, where if you have something that comes into your mind, like the word red, that word red is now connected to so many different things, like fire hydrant, stop sign, and things like that. And that's how your brain works. It's very conceptual, it's very mapped out, and it's all interconnected. And you want to study in that same way to mimic how your brain actually works. So when you study, don't just memorize it to memorize it, but memorize and try to connect those ideas to something else. Try to pair things up and make those connections. That'll help you have the information stick much, much, much more concretely in your brain. And the last thing is the 5-minute rule. So procrastination is something that I think a lot of us struggle, if not every one of us has struggled with or will struggle with. And it's just something that's just part of who we are. We don't want to get started on things, and that's really normal. I think the hardest thing about traveling or doing anything moving is getting started. So there's something called the 5-minute rule where let's say you have a project that you want to work on and you're procrastinating. All you have to say is, you know what, just put on a timer for 5 minutes. I'm just going to do it for 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes and then I'll stop. And you'll be surprised how often you actually go beyond that 5-minute mark and you actually just start going, because once you start doing something, you just kind of continue to do that if you have that motivation. So I would really, really recommend you guys implement spaced repetition when you guys are studying, incorporate mind mapping, connect ideas. And the last one is the 5-minute rule. So just do it for 5 minutes. So like if your parents tell you to take out the trash, you're not taking out the trash, just say, I'm just going to do it one trash can, and then you'll end up doing all of them. It's a similar concept, but it's something very, very powerful and really easy to actually implement. And the last one is being a planner. This is very cliche. It's more like, I guess, be disciplined, but being a planner is very, very important. I would say the one thing to do is just buy a planner or use like your Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, and just start using it. And like the 5-minute rule, once you start using it, you will continue to do it. And while you're planning, be smart. So I actually use something called the 70-mile rule. It's kind of like the 5-minute rule. But if someone told you to run 70 miles in 10 days, at least for me, because I am not a very good runner, I would like to split up that 70 miles and actually just run 10 miles over the 7 days, or 7 miles over the 10 days. In the same way, your planner should look the same thing too. It shouldn't be like on Monday, you're jam-packed, and then Tuesday you have nothing. Wednesday, jam-packed, Tuesday, you're nothing. It's not really good for, I guess, how your brain operates. Your brain operates, it likes patterns, so it likes to predict. And then when it goes up and down, it gets very exhausted. So you want to keep a consistent schedule as much as you can. So think about a sandbox. If you shake the sandbox up, or before you even shake it up, it's going to be very duny, very hilly. But once you shake it up, it's very level. And in a way, that's how your planner should be. So if you can't, you don't need to work 10 hours a day. You can work 5 hours in 2 days, and it'll get the same amount of things done. And you're going to be less tired. You're going to be more efficient, and you're going to have a lot more free time in that way. So just to recap everything, middle schoolers, be curious, ask questions, emphasize social skills, and know who you surround yourself with. And then high schoolers, focus on the study methods of spaced repetition, mind mapping, 5-minute rule, and then be a planner and stick to that. So thank you so much, guys. And I hope you guys can take at least just one thing away from today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Justin. Some of these tips that you shared, I wish I'd known when I was in high school. So
yes, I totally agree. I wish I knew these earlier too. I found out a lot later how to do these type of things, but it has helped me immensely.
Great. And
yes, great, Justin. I agree. Those tips on your study methods are amazing, and I especially liked those 3 tips for middle schoolers. And I think I could definitely use them with my elementary school students as well. We talk about those 3 things about being curious and having social skills and who you surround with pretty much every day. So I'm glad to see that we're on the right track as well. If anybody has any questions for Justin, please feel free to put them in the chat so that we can get those answered. In the meantime, Justin, what motivated you to start a clothing business in college? It very interesting to me.
Yeah, I was just super interested in business, like how our businesses ran. What does it take to run a business? And I think I learned so much from that, because I think when there's money, because I had to invest my own money. We all, like the people that are recruited, we invested our own money. And there's so much more pressure when you have that. And you kind of learn that it brings out raw emotion, but through that, you learn how to work with people. And I would really encourage everyone out here, if you have an opportunity like that, take it. Opportunities that you might not have known that you, like, let's say you're trying to become a teacher, you can also start a business, do research and those type of things. It teaches you other things, and now you can take those ideas, and when you go in another field, you can translate it directly over. So it's a very horizontal skill that can be applied to, I guess, so many aspects of your life.
Great, thank you. And we had another question from our last speaker, but I think it can apply to you too. How have you built your confidence so well over time?
I think it was through talking to cashiers. I am not lying about that. I think there's something very, I think for me, when I could not talk to people that well, I was very insecure and very, I guess, self-conscious about what I would come off as. But as you kind of go and you kind of just warm yourself up to people, and I mentioned before to the group to break the ice within yourself, when you do those type of things, you really grow a self-confidence that's not stemming from anything outside, but something from the inside. And actually, I guess no pun intended, but from the inside, yeah. So it's just something that you kind of grow on yourself. And I think confidence for everyone is different, and what you hold it in and what you have it on yourself. And it's up to you to find that. But to do that, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to grow yourself and to move yourself beyond boundaries. So the more uncomfortable that you are, the more comfortable you will be later on.
Excellent, thank you. And one more question, Justin. What's something that inspires you?
I'd say people in general. It's kind of crazy how, if you, let's say you just drive on the freeway, you look at the cars by you, everyone in that car has a story. They woke up, they have a burden, they have a struggle, they have a joy, they have something. And it's just very interesting to meet those type of people. And becoming a physician allows me to meet those people in one of the most vulnerable states and help them in one of the most vulnerable states. And I think that's an amazing opportunity. And it should not be taken for granted at all. And I think that's something that motivates me. It's just other people and how awesome they are.
Wow, well, one more great round of applause for Justin. He's amazing. And if we have any other further questions, if you think of anything, please feel free to keep them in the chat. We can ask them more in the end. Now I think Michaela is going to introduce our next speaker.
Our next speaker graduated from Valencia High School in 2016. He is currently attending the Warren Alpert Medical School at Brown University. As an undergrad, he concentrated his studies in public health, working on community-based research on HIV prevention in Mexico City and obesity in Samoa. He also spent time doing community organizing for fellow first-generation and underrepresented and medicine students in the 8-year program in liberal medical education. After completing his undergraduate degree, he spent a year serving as a community health worker, providing health and social support to predominantly Latinx communities in Pomona, California. Please help me welcome Hemant K. Ibarra.
Thank you, Michaela. And my name is pronounced Hemant K. Ibarra. And because I think it's a good thing to share, I go by they and he pronouns. And I'm very thankful to be in this space. When I began thinking about what I wanted to share with you all in 5 minutes, I think I really started to think about what when I was in middle school, when I was in high school, what I would really benefit from hearing. So what I'm going to share with you goes along the lines of that. So to preface this, I'm going to say I'm not a motivational speaker, so I'm not going to try and be something that I'm not. I'm Hemant. I grew up in a community similar to the one you all are in right now. I'm the child of 2 parents who immigrated to the US from northern Mexico and southern India. Spanish was my first language. I identify as both queer in my sexuality and gender identity. When I was in high school, things were really difficult. That's the interesting thing about mental health, right? Only we really know what thoughts are racing through our mind or what we were feeling on the inside. I remember feeling like there was always so much happening. There were classes, clubs, people asking what sport you're gonna do, what program you're gonna be in, and this doesn't even begin to touch on what may be happening at home for some of us, wherever that home is, or maybe what's happening inside of us. Because adolescence is one of the periods in life where we experience the greatest amount of changes in our bodies, in our emotions, in our thinking, and also in our understanding of the world. During my teenage years, I didn't really pause to understand this. Like most folks, I imagine, I kept riding the wave of classes, clubs, stress, family challenges, internal challenges, navigating friendships, crushes, and so many other parts of being a teenager. Maybe some of you listening to this feel the same way, like things never stop, or that life is just really hard. And I want to acknowledge that because that's very real. Life can be really hard. And I think if I could say something to my teenage self, I would say, I know how much you're holding inside you. And I want you to know that what you're feeling, that's okay. Do what you need to do to survive because you're a human being And before we can reach these higher goals of career, self-actualization, success, we actually need to ensure that our fundamentals are taken care of. That is food, shelter, water, and health. So take care of your mind, take care of your body, take care of your heart. You need all these things to do the other stuff in life that is important to you. So yes, with a full heart, I encourage you to take action on what is important to you in this world. Activism, nature, medicine, art, history, leadership, so many things. And ensure that you care for yourself in the process. And when things get too hard, ask for help. The reason human beings have come so far on this earth, the reason that we have been around for 20,000 years is because we are an interdependent species. We help each other. We contribute to each other's lives. We would have been gone long ago if this weren't true. So remember, you're human and that is okay. You're part of a community and that is okay too. You belong, and you, by being you, are going to contribute such special things to the world.
Ron, thank you so much for sharing the powerful message. And I think we could all benefit from that. We have to take care of our mind, our body, and our hearts. Anne.
Yes, Hemant, thank you for such great sound advice. And I just want to echo what Giselle said. I especially just appreciated you sharing your story in such a sincere way for all of us. It's very touching. Again, thank you. Please, anybody that has any questions for Hemant, please put it in the chat and we'll get straight to those questions for you. In the meantime, Hemant, tell us about your student life at Brown University.
Yeah, if I can be honest, I will say that it's really fantastic. I think I will be the first to say that it took a really long time to settle into a space like that. I think from people who come from similar backgrounds as me and enter a space that is an Ivy League with a lot of resources, a lot of wealth, and you really begin to see a lot of the things that I think the world has been talking about. Once the pandemic began, once we began to see so many disparities arise in terms of like racial disparities, ethnic disparities, there is a lot of privilege that is concentrated in this institution. I also think it's like a space that holds itself really accountable for these things. And the students, again, like what Justin was talking about with social skills, like to build community in these spaces with other people who really care about the world and are really passionate about their work and inspired about a variety of things is so cool. And I think I learned it at Brown that we're very, very big on how different fields really intersect with one another. So they encourage people to not just like focus in on one area, but to really like draw from different areas, connect your art to public health, to like your STEM classes, connect like your passion for international relations to like maybe like a class on immigrant entrepreneurship. It's a great learning environment, and it took a lot of time to understand that I deserve to really be a learner in this environment and be my full self in that environment. And I feel like it's so hard to encapsulate these things in few words. For anyone who has questions, I'm so happy to talk about what that experience is like. And I also don't think you need to go to Brown University to like capitalize on those things. It is to be an interdisciplinary learner, to be a holistic learner, to be someone who is passionate and excited. You can do that at any point in life, whether you're in college or you're not. That's the cool thing about human beings, is that we're curious, we really care about certain things, and we're really, our interests are so unique. And I think that is one of the things that I have learned a lot from being in that environment.
Thank you. My next question for you is, if you had a magic wand and you could wave that magic wand and create your dream job, what would that be?
I think, oh wow, so now being in medicine, I will say I really love medicine. It is very it's a very interesting space to be in, but I just am so fond of what it means to help human beings heal and help human beings grow. And I recently spoke to students, this is quite specific, but I recently spoke to students who are doing psychiatry and how they were really able to have this understanding of the human mind and the human body, but also tie in so many different healing therapies into what they do, like combine psychotherapy with the way that they help people, also like combining treatments that are pretty innovative and medications. But also they were saying that like you can really tie in so many interests, because apparently like mental health is just like a beautiful area to work in. I think the people who are in the area of mental health obviously really do care about it and care for each other's mental health. So I think that would be, it would be a part medicine. And then I think that's a part of me that is, I do really hold close to me, is like the part of being an activist, caring about, specifically, I think the environment and also youth, and really caring for the way that youth grow to really feel that they can be their full authentic selves and be their best selves. And also, I think we as human beings are so connected to the environment. And that is sometimes like something we forget when we're like inside homes or like we build civilizations, is that human beings are just one of the many species that exist in this world. And a lot of our actions, as I've been learning really recently, like they have a huge impact on other species that are around. And those species belong just as much as we do. So I think as I surround myself in those spaces, I think it's a beautiful way to kind of like step down from that like human ego to go back to being like, okay, like there's so much life around us, and like we have such a beautiful opportunity to actually contribute to the life around us that isn't always necessarily a human life, but still a really important life, and makes the ecosystem and the oxygen in our air just, it gives back to us. And if we give back to it, it just continues feeding back into us. So it would be, my magic wand would be like my passion combined with like also space to kind of have that nice balance, for like the work that is really meaningful to me in the world.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that's added to the chat and said some really great, kind things. So make sure you read those as well, Hemant. One more round of applause for Hemant. Thank you, thank you. Excellent. And now Michaela will introduce our final speaker.
Oh, is it cool if I ask one small question?
Of course.
For the question, for like the individual questions, would you recommend, Giselle, that we like send them messages, or how is there space to answer that?
Yes. Well, why don't we wait until the end, and then we could continue the Q&A.
Awesome.
At the end. All right. Thank you, Hemant. Go ahead, Michaela.
Our next speaker graduated from UC San Diego with a Bachelor of Science in Physiology and Neuroscience and minored in Global Health. She was a general health peer educator, founding member of and president of UCSD Exercise Medicine. She played for the women's rugby team in UCSD. Inspired by her career aspirations, she was a sports medicine intern for UCSD's athletic training department and clinical intern for UCSD's Health Frontiers in Tijuana. Currently, she is a medical assistant at a pain management clinic while pursuing a career as a physician. Please help me welcome Ashley Lopez.
Thank you so much for that intro, Michaela. And thank you all here tonight for coming to hear all of our stories. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and share mine. So if you could go back in time, what advice do you think you would tell your younger self? In middle school, I was pretty sure that I would have something to do with casual time travel, or at the very least, help program the newest iPhone at Apple headquarters. Seeing myself with the career in software development, I was immediately drawn to the ValTech program. Throughout my freshman and sophomore years of high school, the pieces seemed to be falling into place, and I could definitely see myself in college spending all day coding in the library. However, once I actually began taking more coding classes and engineering classes, I found myself not feeling very excited anymore. I wondered if I could still see myself enjoying a career like this in the future. And honestly, I was also a little bit worried. A future in tech is something that I always thought was certain, but now I wasn't so sure. Despite this uncertainty about my future, I always took the time to do things that I was interested in, like sports. I never played sports before high school, and I was very surprised when I landed a spot on the girls' JV soccer team. From there, I gathered the courage to eventually join both the track and cross-country team. My middle school self would probably laugh in my face if I told her that she would end up becoming a distance runner. My passion for sports and science eventually led to a fateful intersection. I wasn't in the IB program, but I decided to take this new class called IBSL Sports, Exercise, and Health Science. And I enjoyed this class so much. Preparing for its tests and even the IB exam didn't even feel like studying. And I know it was just one class, but I could really envision myself with a career in health sciences, and more importantly, a lifelong passion for it. And I want to emphasize that my ultimate desire to be a physician wasn't something that always lingered in the back of my head, and it definitely wasn't a realization that came overnight. After seeing many of my family members struggling with diabetes and its complications, my grandpa's long fight with chronic pain, and recognizing the need for more diversity in medicine, it was something I eventually came to discover about myself. Fast forward to my high school graduation, I still received my ValTech diploma in science and engineering. And I also couldn't wait to begin a new chapter at UCSD as a physiology and neuroscience major. It was a new chapter for my family as well. I am a proud first-generation college student. But when I got to college, the feelings of uncertainty seemed to creep in yet again. But this time, I was just uncertain as to how to get to my end goal of becoming a doctor. So I had to learn to ask for help from upperclassmen, from professors, supervisors, and most of the time, they were always happy to offer guidance and advice to any of my questions that I asked them. But also, I think the biggest thing that helped me through this journey was just having an adaptable mindset, changing your mindset to help embrace change, which I know is often easier said than done. When I played for the UCSD's women's rugby team, I ended up tearing my ACL, but I'm actually grateful that it happened. At first, my injury was really painful to both my physical and mental health, but I did try to make the most of it by getting to know my athletic trainers, my team physicians, trying to learn more about what they do and why they do it. And most importantly, just taking the time to appreciate the little victories I made with my rehab. A few months later, finally with the healed ACL, I started my new position as a sports medicine intern under those same athletic trainers and team physicians. My time as a sports medicine intern affirmed my dreams to pursue medicine, and it even helped land me the position that I have now. So, having an adaptable mindset always easy? No, it's actually difficult, but I think it's definitely worth giving a try. So if I could go back in time and give advice to my younger self, I would just tell her the following. Stay true to yourself and your passions when thinking about your future. And just because you commit to something now doesn't mean you can't change it later. When you come across change, it may be challenging, but it might also be an opportunity to discover something new about yourself. Thank you all for listening.
Wonderful, Ashley. Amazing, amazing story. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Anne for the Q&A.
Yes, again, thank you, Ashley. That ACL recovery story and that flexible mindset, that just resonates with, I think, a lot of us, a lot of different ways. But wow, that's a great story. And I'm a firm believer in things happen for a reason. And I think you're a true testament to that for sure, even though sometimes it comes in a hurtful way a little bit, but glad to see the positive out of it. Ashley, first question for you. And please, again, if anybody here on the call has a question, please put it in the chat. If you want to put it to everyone, then I can read it out and we can have Ashley answer it for everyone. Who is someone that motivated you towards success?
I think it wasn't just a single person, it was my family. So I was fortunate to have a lot of supporters behind me. And I know a few of the other speakers can also relate that medicine is such a long journey, even just to get to at least medical school, and of course the journey past that. But I'm just lucky to be able to have my mom and my dad with me, and my sister too, cheering me on as well. And I think just also like for my future family, whatever that may look like, I'm doing it for them as well. And also for my culture too. So I do have a lot of motivators and people that I look to in my pursuit of medicine still.
Great, thank you. And what is one skill you think young women should master before entering the workplace?
I think it would have to be confidence in yourself. I think oftentimes at UCSD, I was definitely not necessarily a victim of, but I had imposter syndrome a lot of the times. And imposter syndrome is just this sort of notion that you don't think that you deserve the things that you do, which I know sounds kind of confusing, but I often thought that, oh, maybe I just got these things because of chance. Maybe I only got into UCSD because I'm a minority. And sometimes you even have people say that to you or something along those lines. But I think what's important to know is that, you are worthy. And even if what I would tell myself is, even if I did get those by chance, I know that I worked hard for it. And I know that the work that I did was important and the work that I leave behind will be important. So I just try and be confident in myself. And usually once you can gain some sort of experience in one thing, that often translates into another thing. So yeah.
Excellent. And our next question comes from Erica. She asked, what was your favorite part about college?
Ooh, my favorite part about college. There was a lot, but I think oftentimes it was just, as cliche as it sounds, meeting new people, but you meet new people from so many walks of life and so many different interests. And, you just kind of have a few study sessions in the library and you goof off and you just really relate to people because you kind of go through this common experience in college where, you're all just away from home sometimes, but you sort of bond through that. And if you're lucky, you find a good group of people. And, usually at schools, you will find a good group of people. So yeah, you find people who you could really see being lifelong friends with. And so yeah, I still talk to my friends from college, even though I'm not at San Diego, but yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've always looked forward to with a new quarter of classes every time, is meeting new people.
There is one more question that came in from Michaela. She says, I love your story, Ashley. What inspired you to take the first step in everything you ended up doing? For example, joining your first sport team or beginning an internship?
I would have to say either asking or just searching for it. You might have to check a couple of like flyers outside, or even just going up to the teacher, the professor, the clinician, and just asking them, hey, is it possible that, one day I can just come in and watch what you're doing, or just show that you have an interest in what they're doing. yeah, that was often how I at least got my foot in the door. And then once they saw that I was interested, they were like, you know what, if you want to come in next week and, I can start showing you like more stuff, feel free to do that. And it kind of just eventually that can turn into an experience, and it might not happen all the time, but it never hurts to ask. The worst they can do is say, no, we're not right now. So yeah, I always say just ask, or if you don't know who to ask, you can search. Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley. That is wonderful. Wow. So that concludes our 4 speakers. And I think we have about 3 minutes left. What I'd like to do really quickly is to recognize the speakers. All of the speakers tonight are going to receive a certificate of awesomeness. I want to recognize Ashley. She is the Reach Foundation Academic Chair of this event. She has done so much work on the background, putting together the marketing materials, doing the legwork just to make this event happen. So Ashley, you are the epitome of awesomeness, and we would like to recognize you for being a magnificent guest speaker at the From the Inside speaker. She's not only supporting it, but she's also a speaker this time. And thank you for supporting the PYLUSD community and raising the bar for humankind. Hemant, this is yours. I'm going to email them to you as well. Justin, and of course, Ali couldn't be here, but Erin. So these will be emailed to you. Melina will also send a note and a little gift card. So thank you all of your speeches, and what you shared was amazing and so inspiring. Thank you so much for taking the time and doing all the work that you did to make today a success. Thank you. Let's give them all a round of applause. Yay. Thank you. I'm going to go really quickly over and recognize a few people on the team who also contributed on the back end. Evelyn, she was the moderator. Michaela, great job, both of you. Angela also participated in some of the meetings. Anne, thank you so much for being the QA moderator. This is our first time doing it, and we are making tweaks along the way, and we continue to make it better each time. Tanya, thank you, and Melina, thank you for being our tech masters in the background. We appreciate you so much. Also, just a couple of announcements for upcoming events. Our 5th From the Inside speaker panel is going to be February the 16th. We're looking for speaker recommendations from Yorba Linda High School or Esperanza. If you have any names, we would greatly appreciate it. We have the winter academic after school programs that will begin in January. Some more information will come out about that. And finally, the Shamrock and Run is on March the 20th. So please mark your calendars, come out and join us for a fun 2K and 5K run. And we have a brief survey that we'll ask you to fill out to help us understand your feedback, and that'll help us to improve as well. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to our president, Melina Michaels, to close the meeting. Melina.
Thank you, Giselle. I'm just getting notices that my internet's unstable, so I pulled out for the last minute here. Bear with me, but I want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. I don't know if you realize, but From the Inside is the newest program for the Reach Foundation, and I think it is one of the best. The graduates from our PYL schools are extraordinary and always a joy to listen to. I want to take the time here to recognize and thank our speakers tonight, Erin, Justin, Hemant, and Ashley. Each of you, when you were asked to be a part of From the Inside panel, you just jumped in. I don't know if you knew what you were getting into, but you said yes. So we appreciate and thank you for that. I can only imagine how busy your lives are and how your time is so limited, but you prepared your speeches. You met online with the Reach team. you practiced, you adjusted, you fine-tuned. And I think what is really admirable is that you are willing to share your story with all of us. And as I listened tonight, I smiled, I took a few notes. I was definitely wowed by your experiences and the advice that you gave. I find each one of you very incredible. And although I'm not a student, I'm not starting in my career, I learned something from everyone tonight. Each one of you shared something that I think I'm going to work somehow into my life. And in that way, each one of you, I think, are going to become a part of my story. I appreciate for sharing your time, your energy, and giving back to your community. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Melina. I think at this time, I appreciate you so much, Melina, for your leadership. I know that we're 2 minutes over. If you need to jump off, by all means, we thank you again for being here. For those who are interested in continuing the conversation and have more questions that you would like to connect with the speakers, feel free to stay on, and we'll keep this open for a few more minutes. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We hope to see you next time in February.
Oh, this was a great evening, everybody. Really, really enjoyed this.
Oh.
And anybody, go
Nice.
ahead and unmute. This is our just everyone chime in and share.
I just want to say that Hemant is the best motivational, not motivational speaker.
Yeah, I know. You know.
That's good. Yeah.
That's a great statement. Yes. You know, he says, oh, I'm not a public speaker. And then he like lays it out. I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. You're so inspiring. Your story is amazing.
I think the original question of just like, what would I say to myself at that age? It's, yeah, I think that is like the thing. It's like, it's just such a wonderful way to visualize it, because we're all learning. And yeah, but thank you, I really appreciate that.
Yes, I know we do continue to learn. I mean, that's the nature of being on the educational inside, right? We are kind of a group of people who share those interests of just continuing to learn and ask questions and connect with each other, because everybody that you connect with, you know, you could always learn something from. And I just appreciate you all so much for being here. Erica Zhang, I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts?
Hi, I agree. This was such a wonderful opportunity. And like, I first saw the email for the Reach Foundation. It was on my mom's email. And the thing with my mom is that she never checks her email. So it's just sort of like up to me to look for opportunities. And when I saw the email, I immediately lit up. I was like so excited to come to this meeting. So it was definitely a wonderful opportunity to be here and hear all the amazing speakers.
Thank you, Erica. You just answered a big question for us, because in marketing this, we have sent out probably a total of how many emails?
Thousands. More than thousands.
Yeah, tens of thousands, yes. And so we need to find a way of connecting to students like you, Erica. And we'll work on that. But thank you for going into your parents' email and finding us.